Hi, and welcome to the Let's Talk Melbourne podcast. I'm your host, Vikas Raheja. The Let's Talk Melbourne podcast is brought to you from the city of Melbourne, where we talk to business leaders, opinion makers, influencers, and change agents. This is a space for critical thinking, open discussions, and the big picture. This podcast is sponsored by Construct Mart and Floors Trading and Clearance Centre, your one-stop shop for all the floorings and renovations. Hi, and welcome to a new episode for Let's Talk Melbourne. And today I'm really excited to have a guest who, by the way, my little sister who lives in India has requested that we get him on the podcast. And I'm so happy that he agreed to come on the podcast. And I would like to request my guest to introduce himself, if that's okay.
That is okay. Thanks for having me. My name is Davey Rooney, and I'm the founder of the skincare brand Boring Without You. I studied cosmetic science, and I talk about skincare and Boring Without You and cosmetic science and debunk a lot of myths on social media, which is obviously how your sister found me.
Absolutely. And just so you know, you've got a massive fan following in India.
You didn't even give your sister a shout out. What's her name?
I'm going to give her a shout out as well. So
Okay.
she said that she sent us a set of questions that I'm going to ask you. So
What's her name?
Radhika.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, Radhika.
Hey, Radhika. Yes, thank you. And we get started. So the first I wanted to ask you to help our listeners and viewers understand, what is cosmetic science? And if you could just sort of unpack that a bit for people who may not know what it is.
Yeah. So, well, we all know what science is, but cosmetic science is related specifically to cosmeceuticals, skincare, hair care, body care. And it's the study of those, the in-depth scientific study of those.
Okay. And how did you get into it, or how was your interest into this field? What were the germs?
So I've always been a massive skincare consumer.
Okay.
And during COVID lockdown, I would go for socially distanced walks and think about problems in society and how I could solve them. And after one of these walks, I went to Chemist Warehouse, where I saw skincare brands for oily skin and skincare brands for dry skin and even sensitive skin, but nothing specifically targeted at people with combination skin.
Yeah.
And in case you don't know, combination skin is a combination of multiple skin types,
Yeah.
being oily in one area and dry in another area.
I think that defines me.
A lot of people
Maybe,
have, so
yeah.
70% of people have combination skin,
Yeah.
but there's no dedicated brand to this skin type.
Okay.
I was an advocate of skincare, massive consumer of skincare, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to start this brand. Called my mum on the phone. She was like, you should do it. I was in a job that I hated at the time, being bullied like crazy. It was like the worst mental health experience I've ever been through.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, it was horrible. Can I swear on here? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was fucking horrible.
Okay. Fuck you, whoever that employer was. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So that was horrible. But then I started the process of launching Boring Without You.
Yeah, okay.
And specifically related to your question, at that time, I was just a consumer of skincare. And I didn't have the knowledge base to be able to first start a brand and second be able to back the brand and educate people about the brand.
Yeah.
So I decided to start studying cosmetic science.
Now, if someone were to go to your Instagram feed and you've got like massive following, you spend a lot of time researching drugstore products or Chemist Warehouse or, those. How much time do you actually spend there, eh? How many products do you buy? And then what's your process of curating, testing that things out, if you're willing to share that? Like
you should hear phone calls with me and my accountant. He's like, is this a legit expense? And I'm like, go look at the video that I made about it. Like, I have to buy this stuff.
Yep.
But brands send me stuff, and I also spend a lot of time in Chemist Warehouse. But initially, my time spent in Chemist Warehouse was because I genuinely love it there. Okay. There's so many good products, and I think it's perpetuated that to have good skincare products, you need to go to a Sephora or a Mecca or in clinic. But that's just not true. Yep. Some of the best brands are drugstore brands, Aven, La Roche, like dermal therapy. They're all drugstore brands, and you can get them for a really cheap price.
Okay. And what's the, like, do you test all of those products? Do you buy them, test them, and then recommend them through your feed? And
So anything I talk about on my page, I have tried.
Okay.
And I guess that's the hard part about it, is I want to talk about so many other products, but you can only try so many products at a time, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, cosmetics or using skincare is heavily based on what you like and what suits your skin.
Okay.
So I could personally not like a product, but you could love it.
Okay.
And so when I talk about things, I'm very conscious of saying, like, these are my thoughts, and this is what the cosmetic science says. And perhaps there could be better products at a better price point because of this and that reason. But if you like it and you want to keep using it, then use it.
Okay, so it's individualistic essentially. So what works for you, and just
everyone's skin is so different.
Yeah.
And some people say to me, they send me a product and they say, "Can you tell me if this is good?" And I can't look at an ingredients list and tell you whether a product's going to be good.
Yeah.
You don't know the percentage of those ingredients. You don't know the stability of them. You don't know how they interact with each other and what the benefits of it are. So sometimes you just have to try a product to know whether it's going to be good.
Yeah. And do you have a skincare routine for yourself that you religiously follow every day?
No.
Okay.
It's always changing.
Okay.
And it's always changing because I try a lot of products and I want to be able to talk about those products online.
Yeah.
But everyone should find skincare that you like and that your skin enjoys and stick to it.
Okay.
Mixing things up is not good for your skin.
Okay.
And I know it's hard. We live in a capitalist society where consumerism rules all, and you're tempted to try new products when you see it pop up on TikTok or Instagram. But the best thing you can do for your skin is stay consistent and do things, keep it simple, and just do things consistently.
Awesome. Now, if I were to ask you, if you were to recommend, as an example, a skincare routine for men, what would that be? Because I feel often, I'm including myself in this, I shy away from any skincare routine. Not because I don't want to, it's just because I feel I don't know what I should do. And B, I've maybe just will take and put lots of moisturizer, which I don't even need, and I don't know what to do with that, and that makes it even more like depending on my skin type. So if you were to recommend a very basic skincare routine for men, and they could just go to like a Chemist Warehouse or wherever they may be and pick up 2 or 3 essential products in your mind, would you be able to recommend that?
Yeah, of course. So first I'll start by saying a skincare routine for men and women is the exact same thing.
Oh, okay, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
right.
It's the same thing. So
So it's for both then, for men and women. Yeah.
So a lot of skincare that we see marketed towards men or specifically marketed towards women is just that, marketing.
Okay. Yep.
Men's skin and women's skin, there's very minimal differences.
Okay.
I mean, during like hormonal teenage years, men will obviously get more testosterone and their skin might be more oily. But generally speaking, the differences between men and women are not massive.
Okay.
So there's 4 products that are essential.
Okay.
Cleanser.
Take note. Yep. Cleanser.
Cleanser. So if you're wearing makeup or sunscreen, then obviously cleansing at night.
Yep.
Some people like to cleanse twice a day, morning and night.
Okay.
But once a day, usually.
Yeah.
So cleanser, moisturizer,
Yeah.
SPF. And I said 4. So the other one I'll put in there is a retinol or a prescription tretinoin. So
talk to us about that, because that it's just gone.
That's a complicated one.
Yeah.
Okay. So probably one of the most studied and evidence-based skincare ingredients that we know of is vitamin A. Okay. And you'll hear it often referred to as retinol or retinaldehyde or tretinoin. So retinol is vitamin A.
Yeah. And
then when you apply that to your skin, it converts into retinaldehyde.
Yeah.
Now you can buy retinaldehyde, so it doesn't have to go through that conversion step.
Okay.
And then when you apply retinaldehyde to your skin, that converts into retinoic acid.
Okay.
You can't buy retinoic acid. That's a prescription.
Yep.
So a lot of people have prescription tretinoin from their doctor or their dermatologist. That's retinoic acid.
Yeah.
But you could go to Chemist Warehouse and get a retinaldehyde or a retinol, and that's really good for increasing cell turnover, helping clear blemishes or acne, reducing pigmentation somewhat.
Yep.
What else is it good for? It's just a general all-rounder evidence-based ingredient with
Okay.
a lot of studies behind it.
And you could get this at at Chemist Warehouse as an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
So I'm using an Aven retinaldehyde at the moment, and that's
Yeah.
from Chemist Warehouse, and it's really good.
Okay. So that's a great tip for anyone who's listening or watching, and it's for men and women both can use
Yeah.
them. Okay.
Yeah, so what you would do is you would cleanse, you would use your retinaldehyde or your retinol serum,
Yep.
then you would moisturize,
Okay.
and then you would I'm confusing you now because you wouldn't use retinaldehyde or retinol in the morning. You'd use it at nighttime only.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how important is moisturizer? I ask this because everyone I know has a bottle of moisturizer at their home, right? Like literally everybody does. I'm just not sure people understand the actual. Again, this is coming from someone who doesn't understand skincare and beauty. So there will be a lot of people who may know this, but I'm trying to sort of onboard people who may not fully understand, like myself, about this. How important is moisturizing for your skin?
And what, like, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. It depends on your skin.
Skin type.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you're really oily, you might not need a moisturizer as much. If you're really dry, obviously you need a moisturizer.
Okay.
The thing I'll say about that is a lot of people with oily skin don't realize that they're also dehydrated as well. And a lot of people with dry skin don't realize, their dryness might be related to dehydration.
Yeah.
And so the premise of that is lack of dry skin is a lack of oil.
Yep.
Dehydrated skin is a lack of water.
Okay.
And now there's three main parts of a moisturizer.
Yeah.
Humectants, which draw water into the skin.
Yeah.
Emollients, which give it that silky, smooth feel.
Yeah.
And occlusives, which are oils that trap, or what they kind of prevent. They provide a barrier over your skin to prevent transepidermal water loss.
Okay.
And nourish your skin with those oils as well.
Okay.
So every good moisturizer will have those three components.
Okay.
And they're all doing different things for your skin at the same time.
And what's your take on, like you walk into any like Myer or anywhere, for example, and there's so many kinds of serums there these days and essential oils. Is it again try it, test it, see what suits you, or some of them something that we really need to incorporate into our skincare routine?
Yeah, I don't think.
Or is it just a fad?
It's not a fad. Like everything is a case by case basis, depending on the product and the efficacy of the product.
Yeah.
But a lot of people see great benefits from a serum.
Okay.
But do you need a serum? No.
Okay.
It honestly depends, and this is why it's so much more nuanced than what people say. And I know
yeah.
sometimes you want a black and white answer, but
Yeah.
it does depend on your skin and what your skin needs, and also the product.
Okay. And what's the best way for people to understand what their skin needs? Like,
That's a tricky one. I don't actually know.
okay.
I think just listening to it, just being simple about it. Obviously, if you are experiencing irritation or blemishes or redness, or when you splash water on your face, it's stinging. Like,
Yep.
all those can be signs of an impaired barrier.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, if we're supporting our skin barrier, then we're supporting its natural function. And that's what a lot of skincare does, is it's essentially supports your skin barrier. Yeah, so a lot of people, they come to me and they say, like, this is, like, I don't know if my skin feels this or that,
Yeah.
I guess, how do we generally know whether we're healthy or not, It's hard to define, right?
And the reason I ask is, like, I'm from India. So in India, we've got every household will have this trend. They would take curd or yogurt, and then they would just mix it with a bit of turmeric and chickpea powder, and they just put it on the face. And to them, that was the most, and it's been done for like 100 years.
Mm.
And that's a very homemade recipe and tried and tested. And then you have so many different products now, and it's so confusing, and it can be overwhelming because, people who are not fully across or fully understand the aspects of skincare and beauty and what's required, or healthy skin, it can be a bit overwhelming. So that's why I sort of wanted to get an understanding of, like, what's the basic go-to things for someone who's like a novice and who wants to care about their skin? Like, what are the actual basics that they can start off with versus having to go into like deep, complicated kind of things to improve their skin?
I think those things I mentioned before,
Yeah.
like a lot of the time people aren't cleansing their face properly.
Cleansing. Okay, so cleansing is important.
Yeah, and when
you do
you're
it almost every day.
yeah, so
Yeah.
cleanse every day and cleanse for 60 seconds.
Okay.
A lot of people don't even do that first step.
Yeah.
Um,
And sorry, and you can use any cleanser from you just get a cleanser from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
okay.
some good, like anything at Chemist Warehouse, like CeraVe, La Roche, Avène, Dermal Therapy, they're all really good brands.
Okay.
And the job of a cleanser is using surfactants to remove the makeup or the sunscreen or the excess oil from your skin.
Yeah.
And then just including a moisturizer after that. And if you're out in the sun during the day, or even if you're outside at all during the day,
Yeah.
wear a sunscreen.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest detriments to our skin is UV damage. And
Yes.
the best thing you can do is wear a sunscreen.
Absolutely. So it's very important, and especially since we live in Australia.
Australia is the melanoma capital of the world.
Yes.
And if you live in Queensland, that's the melanoma state of the world.
Yeah.
And I think like 2 in 3 Australians have get a melanoma.
Yeah.
And something I wasn't aware of is a melanoma doesn't present where you get sunburned or where you get the UV damage.
Yeah.
So you can get a melanoma anywhere on your body from getting burnt on your hand.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's why when you go get checked, and you should get checked every 6 months to a
Yeah.
year, they check everywhere. And they get you to
Okay.
take off your shoes and
Yeah.
check in between your toes, and then some even in between your bum crack.
But it's important. You have to do it, right?
You have to do it. Yeah.
Skincare is important, and it's
Yeah.
not just your face; it's your entire skin of your entire body.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Now, what are some of the brands that you like personally?
Good question. I love Hada Labo at the moment, so they're in Priceline.
Okay.
They're a Japanese brand. They're the number one skincare brand in Japan,
Yeah.
and their main premise is focused on hydration
Okay.
and the importance of hydrating your skin. I love La Roche. I love Avène. Those are 2 French pharmacy brands, which are they're just focused on simple, non-sensitizing skincare that helps with irritation and redness and
Yeah.
just repairing and looking after your skin.
Okay.
And then, of course, Boring Without You. There's a reason I started the
Of
brand.
course, and Boring Without You. So tell me a bit. I'm a bit curious about Boring Without You, and how did that come about? Like, I know you sort of spoke about, like, COVID
Yeah.
was one of the, for lack of a better word, say trigger or a starting point to get into it. But now that your brand is out there, and how does that feel for you? And what's the next vision for that brand? And
Yeah, it feels amazing. And the whole first year was just purely built off organic social media growth.
yeah,
We documented the behind the scene process of building the brand on TikTok, and then obviously promoted it on Instagram as well. And we just had quarter on quarter growth with like record sales. And then only recently we've started doing paid ads, and it's
it's really
through the roof now.
Yeah.
I'm going on Shark Tank next week.
That's exciting.
So I filmed that recently,
Yeah.
and that airs on Tuesday.
Okay, so if do you want to plug that? Tuesday?
Well, when does this episode come out?
This episode would come out in 2 weeks' time, but they can still revisit it.
Okay, so yeah, it'll be out by now. So go to 10 Play if you want to watch it, Channel 10, and it's the first episode.
Perfect. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
exciting.
That would have been fun.
It was really fun,
Okay.
and I'm conscious that I can't say anything.
You can't say
I can't say
no,
anything
fair
beyond
enough. That's
that.
absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And but it's I'm going to watch that episode for sure.
Yeah,
Exciting.
well, I actually wasn't up until this point. I kind of haven't been allowed to say anything,
Yeah.
but Shark Tank released a teaser of me on the show.
Okay.
So now it's out there that I'm on it. So
Okay. Oh well, congratulations. That's exciting stuff.
thank you.
Very good. All right, now we're going to play a bit of a fun game, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So my sister has sent some questions, and I'm going to ask you those questions, and we'll just get your thoughts on that. Thank you to my little sister.
Your sister is a skincare fanatic, so I hope I don't get stumped by these questions.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll be fine. What's the difference between a mineral sunscreen and a chemical sunscreen, and what would be your recommendation?
So my recommendation is any sunscreen that you enjoy using and that you're going to use every day.
Okay.
Doesn't matter whether it's mineral or chemical sunscreen.
Okay.
The difference between the two is a mineral sunscreen uses physical UV filters to physically block UV rays.
Yeah.
And those are primarily titanium dioxide and zinc oxide.
Okay.
And a lot of people think that they rebound the UV rays.
Yeah.
But that's a myth. And they partially rebound it and partially absorb the UV rays as well.
Okay.
A chemical sunscreen, my understanding is that it primarily absorbs the UV rays.
Okay.
And it disperses them.
Okay.
So it uses chemical UV filters. And I'm not a massive fan of the phrase chemical UV filters because everything is a chemical.
Okay.
Like we're made up of chemicals.
Yep.
The water we drink is chemicals. But yeah, that's the primary difference of those two.
Okay. Vitamin C, when and how should one use it? In the morning skincare routine, or is it an evening skincare routine?
You can use it in the morning or the evening, but vitamin C has amazing brightening properties, and a lot of people benefit from using it in the morning.
Okay.
There's also some evidence to show that vitamin C helps boost UV filters.
Yep.
So if you use it before your sunscreen, then you're getting more UV protection.
Okay. Cool. Well, it's about moisturizer, but we've covered moisturizer. So, and can you recommend any good nail paint brand, example, Essie, or any vegan skincare product that you personally use that you recommend?
I can't recommend any nail products. I always get my nails done at the salon. So I can't recommend anything in that respect. Vegan skincare, I'm honestly, I'm not vegan myself, so it's not something that I look out for.
Okay, fair enough. And what's your take on slugging? And
Boring Without You is vegan though.
there you go.
So that's my vegan recommendation.
Okay, so boring without you.
Maybe we'll try get some to your sister. Or,
Yeah.
or when she comes to visit in Australia, we can get her some.
If you would meet her, she would really appreciate.
I can do that,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. And what's your take on slugging, the new TikTok phenomenon, if that is can be called a phenomenon?
Yeah, it definitely is a phenomenon. It's really taken the world by storm. So in case anyone doesn't know, slugging is as the last layer of your skincare routine at night, applying a thin layer of Vaseline. And Vaseline is, despite it being demonized, is just a wonder product and wonder ingredient. And the premise behind it is that it prevents transepidermal water loss.
Yep.
And provides an occlusive barrier over your skin to soothe irritation or help with hydration. And the reality is that we lose the majority of our water from our skin at nighttime when we're sleeping.
Yep.
So it's an amazing thing to do for your skin.
Okay.
So you just apply a thin pea-sized amount at nighttime and you'll wake up with the dewiest skin.
Awesome. I might do that.
Get around it.
I might have to buy Vaseline first, but I might go and do that.
The beautiful thing about Vaseline is it's like $5 from Chemist Warehouse.
I know. I should go and get it.
But moisturize first and then Vaseline.
Okay. And what's your take on jade roller face massages? If I'm and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Gua sha. Yeah. I don't really have an opinion on it. I haven't looked into the evidence. I'm not sure if there is strong evidence around it. But as I said at the start of this podcast, if you do something to your skin that you benefit from and that you enjoy doing, keep doing it. Okay.
I think a lot of cosmetics, we talk about neurocosmetics, and it's not just around efficacy of a product, but it's also linked to how a product makes you feel when you use it.
Okay.
And that process can release serotonin and dopamine, and that genuinely impacts you.
Okay.
So who am I to say that you shouldn't use something?
And lastly, LED light therapy. Do they actually work for anti-aging?
There's a lot of evidence behind LED therapy. So you can get blue light therapy, which is really good for acne and blemishes. And then you can get red light therapy, which is really good for soothing skin irritation and helping slow the process of aging. You have to use if you're using an at-home LED mask, it has to have a specific wavelength.
Okay.
I don't know that wavelength off the top of my head. But yes, they're rooted in evidence,
Awesome. Now we'll do a fun little game again, second one. So I'll just tell you a, a name, and you say is it a must-have or a nice-to-have?
Okay.
Okay. Sunscreen,
Must have, definitely.
lip gloss,
Nice to have.
uh, body butter,
Nice to have.
and deodorant.
Nice to have.
Expensive products like Charlotte Tilbury or Aesop, those kind of things, like the high
Nice to have.
Nice to have. Okay. And drugstore products.
In general,
In general, yes.
nice to have.
Nice to have. Face masks.
Nice to have.
Men who paint their nails.
Must have. No.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. And women who do a lot of makeup.
If it makes you feel good, must have. If you don't think you need it, nice to have.
Okay.
Just on the painting nails as well. So usually I do have my nails painted, which I originally started doing to stop me from biting my fingernails.
Okay.
And then I just like the look of it, so I kept doing it.
Okay.
But I get so many negative comments on social media.
Yeah.
People usually homophobic comments, people saying that I shouldn't paint my nails and who was this guy painting his nails and stuff like
Well,
that.
firstly, if you're homophobic, you shouldn't be following a skincare routine to begin with. Like, I mean, that's not homophobia. I don't know, something's going on there, mate. So you might have to do a bit of self-reflection.
Definite in need of self-reflection.
Yeah, self-reflection, or get help, or just face reality and grow up.
Yeah.
And the other one was face mask.
You said face mask.
I said face mask?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry, hair oil.
Oh, hair oil. Nice to have.
Nice to have. Okay. All right, that was fun.
As you can, I think I said in that list, sunscreen was the only must-have.
Yes, sunscreen was the only
So
must.
there you go.
There you
But
go.
also a cleanser as well.
But we discussed cleanser and moisturizer, and that
Yeah.
was on the list, but yeah, sort of.
You're like, we've
we
done
sort
it.
of covered that. So, okay. And we ask all our guests 2 questions on this podcast. First one is, what's your anthem song?
You sent me these questions beforehand and I didn't.
But is it at the top of your head? Is there a song,
Oh.
which is your go-to song, like that always you revisit from time to time?
I do love Adele's Someone Like You,
Okay.
but I don't know if it's my anthem song. Because, I'm not constantly in a state of depression thinking about my ex.
Hopefully not.
Fingers crossed. My current partner would hope so as well.
Yeah, I mean, your ex, I'm sure anyway, well, like, you've done so well, so I'm sure he's probably regretting everything at this point in time. And what's the one thing you love about living in Melbourne?
That's a really good question. I just love the vibe and the energy of being in Melbourne. And I was in Sydney for a year and it doesn't have this, it's nothing on Melbourne.
Yeah.
It just has a great energy and the people are kind and it feels spacious and not claustrophobic. And it's just, it's a good vibe.
Okay. And lastly, before we wrap up, your Instagram is nuts, right? Like, you've got such great content. You put a lot of effort and you get a lot of love and attention, and maybe some homophobic people who are probably closeted gay men, I would imagine. Anyway, that's a different
Yeah, that's a new
podcast.
podcast.
So what drives you to put out so much content, and how much of it, I mean, I'm sure you're passionate, but how much of your creative juices get flowing when you do that? Like, and how does it impact you personally, professionally? If you can talk a bit about that.
Yeah, I love it. And the main reason I started doing it, I was really hesitant to put myself out there online first. But the main reason I started doing it, because I was like, we need a way to promote Boring Without You. Like, we're not spending any money on paid ads. How are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And then I just started putting myself out there online and started taking my learnings from studying cosmetic science and talking about it online, and it really resonated with people.
Yeah.
But in terms of the creative process, I love thinking of ideas. Like, I have a background in media and I was a radio producer for many years. So
really? Okay.
yeah. So I like, that was my field of expertise, if you will. So yeah, I love thinking of ideas and then I love creating content around those ideas. And now my fear of putting myself out there online has just gone away.
And that's amazing. That's wonderful. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on everything that you've achieved. And it's so heartening to see Melburnians doing something amazing like what you do, whether it's your brand, your content, all your Instagram feeds. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And oh, sorry, before we say goodbyes, if someone wants to buy your product, where do they go to buy them?
Boringwithoutyou.com.
Boringwithoutyou.com.
Yeah.
And you can just ship it to them.
Yep, we ship it. Yeah, we ship to
All over Australia?
yeah, all over Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the US.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. So I'm going to have to purchase some to take it back home to India. Okay. So I better get on it because I'm going soon. Thank you so much for your time today. And I really appreciate you taking the time and coming here. And apologies, I got delayed by coming here. So
It's so fine.
Sorry about that. And thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I learned a lot. And I'm sure I'm sure most of my friends will learn a lot from today's podcast as well. You've been very, very generous with your time and the information that you've shared. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. All right. Thank you again for tuning in. And this is a wrap up, and we'll come back again and keep listening to us on Spotify and watching us on YouTube. Thanks. We would like to thank our sponsors, Construct Mart and Floors Trading and Clearance Center, and also let you know that this podcast has been recorded from Image Online Studio in Abbotsford. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Melbourne.